So a lot of you tagged me in this video interview with Janelle Monáe, and we have to talk about it because there's a lot to question here. Now, before you write this off as conspiracy content, let me introduce myself real quick. My name is Taylor Decode. I have worked as an occult philosopher, as well as researcher, teacher, student, guide for well over 13 years in studying the great mysteries of life, death, resurrection. I bridge together the realm of technology, finance, pop culture to help us get answers to what's really going on in this world right now. So let's get into it. So Janelle Monáe was interviewed and is speaking about time traveling to see David Bowie. Now I want you to know that celebrities speak in symbolism. Most of them, not all of them, have the ability to see. They see beyond our world and they program it into their symbolism. You might call it channeling or artistic performance. Now, in my previous video yesterday, I spoke about how Janelle Monáe is known for playing around with robotic symbolism. If you're familiar with her album Metropolis, her song Electric Lady, or even her role in the show Electric Dreams that was based on Philip Dick's book Electric Dreams, or Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Now, there's way too many connections for someone to not be self-aware of all of this, and I'm gonna guide you through it. The reason why I divulge these mysteries is not to be tinfoil hat, but to encourage critical thinking. And if we encourage critical thinking, this allows our exploration of consciousness to expand in a safe but curious way. Janelle Monáe has a song on her album, The Archandroid, called Wonderland, or Wonderland, which is named after her Wonderland Studios, her own production company. Whenever we name businesses something or give it logos or symbols, this is a call out to the world about the expression of the idea in which we're invoking. She's also dressed up like the White Rabbit from Alice in Wonderland. Now, I've seen plenty of articles that say there's no proof that Wonderland is actually about Alice in Wonderland. However, you guys have seen her notorious Halloween costumes. Maybe you've seen her dress up as E.T. I think most recently she's dressed up this Halloween for Beetlejuice. But it makes you wonder, why did she have a song called Wonderland in this album where she's talking about a female messiah named Cindy Mayweather, who is basically like a robot or an android? What is the Alice in Wonderland story all about? Well, if you're familiar or not familiar, and I'm going to tell you this is all alleged for TikTok purposes, Alice in Wonderland is thought to be a huge part of MK Ultra mind control programming that started with the CIA back in the 60s. Because Alice in Wonderland is all about a young girl going into an inverted world, consuming mushrooms, which are associated with life and death, and everything basically being backwards. It's also an occultist's favorite movie to pull from, especially The Matrix. So again, you have to ask yourself, why show yourself as a public figure in these ideas and these costumes? If you're an artist, your expression to the world is told through the costumes in which you choose to wear. Now, Janelle Monáe has worked with artists like Grime. If you don't know who Grimes is, she's a techno-futurist celebrity/musical artist who has sired 3 children with Elon Musk, the world's billionaire from Mars, allegedly. So you're working with artists like this, kind of on the same kick, the same way. And I'm also going to reference the song she has called Pink on her album, Dirty Computer. Again, you have to ask yourself, why do they name these songs in this way? Why is the symbolism blatantly ignored and not spoken about? And it usually is from a pop culture perspective in a very small capacity, but not in a larger framework. Now let's get back into the David Bowie portion. When people get super emotional about these things, it keeps them from being able to interpret very clearly without like getting angry or upset because you feel like you're being lied to. I try to stay neutral because it allows me to explain better. So it made me wonder, why does she keep bringing up David Bowie? She recently posted even on her Instagram of herself recording in a studio with the song tagged David Bowie Space Oddity, not Space Odyssey, but it's based on Space Odyssey, right? The 2001 Space Odyssey movie. What's the connection with tech? Why is she playing around with these ideas very publicly for huge platforms that people around the world are going to see and ingest consciously or unconsciously? In the show Electric Dreams, she plays a robot that works for a company called AutoFact, where the world is actually ended and she has the consciousness of the creator inside of her brain, but she doesn't know it. Now, Amazon Prime is the one who endorses the show Electric Dreams. And this book that it was based on was written in the 80s. I want you to remember that Jeff Bezos' grandfather was a part of DARPA, ARPANET, the very beginnings of the internet in modern day society. I also cannot maybe fully explain in a logical way for people how time travel works, but what I can tell you is that the soul has no ending or beginning. It goes on and on and on. And immortality is something that technocrats are very obsessed with. They're into preserving their consciousness for as long as possible. So The way that I interpret faces is not because people look alike, because I think that is a very lazy and easy write-off to say, oh, they both have something going on with their eye. I pay attention to themes and archetypes because this is consciousness traveling through bodies that I'm interpreting. We all know Jeff Bezos had a public performance of sending 6 women into space this year. David Bowie is a rock and roll artist. I want you to see the emphasis that I use on that rock, who also sang about outer space, psychedelic experiences. I also mentioned yesterday how in 2001 Space Odyssey, the HAL 9000 looks very identical to the Amazon Ring doorbell. So there's a storyline traveling about future tech maybe being present day tech. It was predicted back in the 80s. Janelle Monáe also has a song called Electric Lady, so this would tie perfectly into the song Electric Dream. If I had to interpret it with my logical mind rather than my conspiracy mind, there is something that's being told to us about human consciousness through the world's biggest tech firms, media corporations, and entertainment industries that are weaving these stories and projecting what is actually going on without us realizing it. I believe the reason that she mentioned David Bowie, maybe other than a cosmic connection, we'll just call it that, is based on his character Ziggy Stardust from Ziggy Stardust and the spider who came from Mars. Guess who's also connected to Mars? Jeff Bezos. Mars is a yearly event hosted by Amazon founder Jeff. Mars brings together innovative minds in machine learning, automation, robotics, and space to share new ideas across these rapidly advancing domains. How do I say this? Where we think everything is with tech in the mainstream is not where it is. This is why I live between both worlds, because I have to look into the future of the things that have already happened to bring them down into this area. I can't just ramble off about conspiracies about the Matrix. We have to understand how quantum computing works. We have to understand how consciousness works through the physical and spiritual body. We also have to ask ourselves why the same repetitive information is given to us over and over on a loop, and the loop is not breaking yet. Metropolis is a great example of this because Janelle Monáe has many times referenced, like other artists, Fritz Lang, the German film director's 1927 movie Metropolis, about a feminine robot that is here to awaken the masses. So this ties into her Cindy Mayweather story, as well as her relationship once with Tessa Thompson, who stars in the show Westworld, where humanoid robots are trapped within a park or a simulation. Notice the word West too, because West is referring in ancient Egyptian mythology to the land of the dead or the unconscious. A few other thoughts I had about it were Janelle's role in the movie Glass Onion that was featured on Netflix, and it had me thinking about glass screens or even maybe Project Looking Glass, which was a military operation, but also an inactive free software project under the GPL to create innovative 3D desktop environments for Linux, Solaris, and Windows. Looking through the looking glass like Alice in Wonderland. The TV, the computers, the screens, the projections, time traveling to see David Bowie, the man who fell from Mars. Mars like RAM, random access memory of a computer. Computers that are ran on servers. There's also some very significant connections portal-wise when it comes to numbers and dates. So birthdays are your entryway into this world, just like death dates are. Jeff Bezos' birthday is January 12th, which is 112. David Bowie died on January 10th, 110, and was born on January 8th, 1/8. So it's all within the same 4 or 5 day portal. Janelle Monáe's birthday is December 1st. So that's also 112 or 121. It's an anagram. You can play with the numbers, just keep them the same. But there's a clear connection there. I also find it interesting she was born in Kansas City, Kansas, because Alice in Wonderland is a very similar story to The Wizard of Oz, which is the same derivative of this entire story, being trapped in Wonderland, being trapped in Oz, the operating system, the dirty computer. But the last thing I'll say to wrap this video up, because this is probably the longest video I've done in a long time, on that same album of the Arcandroid, Janelle Monáe has a song called Cold War. The day that this song came out was also the same day in history that the original Cold War started, which was all about the race to space, mind control, and genetic program, heavily tied to this. So I hope you guys enjoyed this decode. Just to give you a reminder, for all of Scorpio season, all of my services, my books are 50% off, excluding Oracle Mystery School, which you can sign up for today via the link in my bio. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll check you for the next decode.